Article 1.
Article
Berry
2.
Street
The
Education
relationship
Model,
between
a
school
behavior management
personnel's
approach.
confidence
The
with
relationship
using the
between the
school-wide
BESM model of
positive
behavior
behavior
and its
intervention
success in
support
high
model
schools
and
by
its
Rakeshma
sustainability
Lata.
by Salis Nur
Article
Solika.
1. Berry Street Education. The relationship between the success and If you're wondering what I've got in my hand, this is one of the gadgets that has been produced by the Berry Street education model to attract the attention of students. The objectives of the Berry Street education model helps us to understand the impacts of trauma on child development and the ability to learn. And we need to create a supportive and trauma-informed positive education classroom. It also helps bolster student teacher relationships, which is extremely important. In my opinion, it is the most important basis for starting learning is to have good relationship with your students. Also instills strengths based practices across the school. The methods that was used in this research were both qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative methods were used through interviews with teachers, students, and the parent community, and at the same time, quantitative data was collected across schools in Melbourne and America. The results of this article. Garcia argues for the importance of connectedness in student teacher relationships during adolescence and advocates for a more holistic and proactive approach to well being in education, combining education, psychology, and health promotion perspectives by providing an overview of theoretical frameworks in the study of student teacher relationships, and makes the case that good relationships with teachers are essential to students' well being in schools. Garcia Moya draws on qualitative findings from the Teacher Connectedness Project to offer an in depth examination of the central attributes of student teacher connectedness and the link between connectedness and the authority from both students and teachers' perspective. This project uses synergy approach to investigate the role of teachers as potential significant adults in students' life. It is very important for teachers to have good rapport with students in order for them to learn. Research tells us that increased engagement can lead to increased student level attendance rates and reduce days lost to suspension rate. The pilot was designed to help us measure the impact of engagement programs in line with the New South Wales Plan for Public Education in closing the gap targets, ongoing improvements to student attendance and reduced suspension rates, students building positive relationships with others, and students reporting a greater sense of belonging to their school culture community. Outcomes and impact. The program contributes to the department's plan for New South Wales public education, connecting students with support they need for well-being and development so they're better motivated to attend school and are better equipped to learn. This is also directly linked to outcome 5 of closing the gap to increase the attendance of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people attaining year 12 or equivalent qualification to 96%. The research behind the Berry Street model started in 1997, acculturation on the categories assimilation, integration, separation, and marginalization, and how it would affect the latent class analysis of continuous acculturation indices. Hispanic students from Miami participated in the study. The authors used measures of heritage and cultural orientation to create the latent class. The authors utilized a number of external variables, such as ethnic identity, value based indices of cultural identity, familiar ethnic socialization, acculturative stress, and perceived ethnic discrimination to validate the cluster solutions. Overall, our findings provided mixed support for Berry's model. Six latent classes emerged from analysis. Two of these appeared to represent variants of biculturalism. Two resembled combination of assimilation and biculturalism, and one resembled a combination of separation and biculturalism, and one was not clearly associated with any of Berry's categories. So, we can conclude that the effect of the Berry's model is has mixed feelings and mixed levels of success. Findings in the American schools showed that the Berry Street model didn't work in all contexts and showed support, separation, and biculturalism were not associated with Berry's categories. In Australian schools in Melbourne, there was also mixed support for this model as it cannot be transferred to all educational settings. From my experience, the behavior model has worked extremely well in schools for special needs settings where I'm currently based and have tried many of Berry's components and seen success. However, its implementation in the mainstream setting can be a challenge. Opportunities. The Berry Street education model needs further trialing out in both mainstream public and private schools. All staff need to be trained in Berry Street and its implementation studied over a period of time to work out its success. It is a costly program to get staff trained in, and the time required to plan and deliver it successfully can be challenging. American studies cannot be fully replicated here in Australia, so more research by scholars is needed. Conclusion. The Berry Street model is a great model of behavior to build positive relationships between students and staff, which affects their overall well being and learning. It needs further trialing out in both public and private schools and different schools to work out its overall success.
Main point of the research, this paper focuses on the main point of the research, of implementing a school-wide positive main point of the research, support model in schools. Aims of the study to explore the relationship between school personnel's confidence in using school-wide positive behavior. Okay. The research questions it reflected the study's purpose and could have been better because they were not open-ended even though they were specific to the study. Correlational, causal, comparative, and descriptive research paradigm quantitative framework. The strength of the chosen paradigm is that it is easy to analyze the collected data and that it is consistent and reliable. The design and method were elaborated in detail to allow the study to be repeated, and the analysis of the data collected addressed the research questions. Data collection using online survey, a three-part survey using the Qualtrics survey platform. Findings. The result is clearly stated and respond to the research questions. The paper's discussion addressed the issue mentioned in the introduction and provided recommendations with strategies to overcome the problems. Opportunities. The study's findings can lead to the efficacy and potential for behavior intervention practices in school improvement. It highlights the importance of further investigations to enhance school personnel's self-efficacy and competency regarding SWPBIS. Challenges. Since it is American-based, the reliability and validity of this research may differ when replicated in Australian school system. Generalization cannot be made as the survey was conducted only in a small part of the United States. However, generalization is supposed to be allowed due to the research being well designed and the large sample taken. The research findings are informational. As a result, they cannot be transferred and applied directly in the classroom. Research can be applied when the researcher emphasizes practices at issue. The discussion. This study is exploratory empirical research involving multiple locations and schools. It was undertaken in primary, middle, and high schools across southern Illinois, United States. This study clearly stated the challenges, research questions, aims, ethics, policy, and the politics. Ethics and consent were obtained before the study commenced. This study adopted the anonymity concept. The research ethics in place aim to protect the participants from a risk of harm. In Australian classroom, this study will use different paradigms, including the method, integrated research, and the action research framework. It will adopt the concept of action research, look, think, and act, and use a complete cycle of planning. As action researchers, teachers reflect upon their practices and that the research findings can be transferred or applied immediately and impact the change in their practices. This complies with the Department of Education policy regarding inclusiveness and the positive behavior and learning framework. Teachers should engage in research and inquiry and be mindful of the sensitivity and respect of the First Nation of Australia.
The research
Conclusion. The
findings
authors
suggested that the
identified the
participants were
school-wide
trained in
positive
the
behavior
school-wide positive
intervention
behavior
support
intervention
model as an
support through
evidence-based
various modes and were
practice that has
confident in
been proven
implementing it.
efficacious for
Furthermore, the
over 10
authors
years.
hypothesized
However,
that
they
a high
found
level of
that many
personal
schools
confidence will affect the
discontinued the
program's
delivery of the
sustainability rate
program within 3
once
years of
the
its
other variables are
implementation.
maintained. The
Thus, they
authors
decided to
concluded that the personal
investigate the cause
confidence
of the
impacted
abandonment of the
sustainability. They identified that it
SWBBIS
is
with the
crucial to boost
assumption that it
their
could be due to
confidence
the staff's
implementing the
confidence in implementing it.
SWBBIS. Assessment 3, brought to you by
Conclusion. The
Rakesh
authors
Malata and
identified the
Salis
school-wide
Nursulika.
positive behavior intervention